Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to build a mental map for setting up your very first Cucumber project. Now, the goal here isn't for you to code along with me. Nope, it's to understand the why behind each step. So when you actually go to do it yourself, everything just clicks. So let's dive in and see how it all works. Have you ever looked at a typical automated test? I mean, it's usually this complex block of code that, let's be honest, only a developer can really understand. But what if you could write that exact same test in plain, simple English that literally anyone on your team, your manager, your business analyst, could read and understand? Well, that is the magic of Cucumber, and it's why it's such a game changer. So, how does this magic actually work? Well, any Cucumber project is really built on three essential pillars. I want you to think of them as the blueprint, the engine, and the ignition switch for your car. Let's break down each one.
Okay, so the first pillar is the feature file. This is your blueprint. It's the starting point where you describe in simple, everyday language exactly what your application is supposed to do. This is where everyone on the team can get on the same page.
Next up, we have the engine, the step definitions. This is where the real connection happens. You see, every single line of English in that blueprint gets linked, or as we say, glued, to a piece of code that actually performs the action. It's the translator that turns your human-readable plan into commands the computer can actually execute. And finally, we've got the test runner, our ignition switch. This is a special little file, and it has one simple but super important job: to tell Cucumber where to find the blueprints, the feature files, and where to find the engine, the step definitions. Once it knows those two locations, it can fire up the whole process. All right, so now that we have those three core ideas in our heads, the blueprint, the engine, and the ignition, let's see how they actually come together when you build a project. We're going to start right at the foundation. You know, every good project needs a solid skeleton, right? A nice, organized structure. For that, we use a tool called Maven. It sets up a standard folder layout for us, and maybe even more importantly, it helps us manage all the different tools and libraries we're going to need. And speaking of tools, how do we actually add them to our project? Well, with Maven, it's this beautifully simple three-step idea. You find the tool you need, we call them dependencies, you copy a tiny little piece of text, and you paste it into a central file. That's it. Maven does all the heavy lifting of downloading and setting it up for you. And this is what it actually looks like. I mean, just by adding these few lines for Cucumber Java and Cucumber Junit, Maven automatically goes out, finds the entire Cucumber framework, and brings it right into our project. It really is that simple. Okay, so our foundation is built, we have our tools in the toolbox. Now we're ready for what I think is the most important part, actually writing the test blueprint itself. Now, the language we use in these files is called Gherkin, and it's built around a few keywords that just tell a story. Given sets the stage. It's the starting point. When describes the action that a user takes, and then states what we expect the result to be. See, it's just a really natural way to describe behavior. And here's a perfect, simple example. The feature is about opening an application. The story goes like this. Given I launch the application URL in a browser, when I see the homepage, then I close the browser. It's totally straightforward, and anyone, techie or not, can read that and know exactly what's supposed to happen. Okay, so we have our plain English blueprint. It's beautiful, it's readable, but right now it doesn't actually do anything. So how do we make it run? Well, it's time to build the engine. Now listen up, because this is one of the coolest parts about Cucumber. You don't have to guess what code you need to write. When you try to run your feature file for the very first time, Cucumber sees that those English steps aren't connected to anything, and it literally generates the exact code templates you need to make them work. And this is what it looks like. Right there in your console, for every single step you wrote in English, Cucumber gives you a perfectly matching code snippet. It's basically holding your hand, guiding you to create that glue between the English and the code. So all you have to do is copy these generated snippets, paste them into a Java class, and then you just fill in the blanks with your automation code. And just like that, your blueprint is now fully wired up to your engine. So we have our blueprint, we have our engine. We've connected them together. Now it's time for that final piece, the ignition switch that's going to bring it all to life. Remember the test runner? It's really just an empty file with a special label on top, an annotation called @CucumberOptions.
You can think of this annotation as the main control panel, where we tell Cucumber everything it needs to know to get the job done. And really, it all boils down to two main things. First, the features property. You just point it to the folder where all your blueprints, your .feature files, are located. Second, the glue property. This tells Cucumber where to find the engine, the Java code that makes all the steps work. Once it knows where the blueprint and the engine are, it's ready to go. And as soon as that runner is configured, you're done. That's it. You can now run your entire suite of plain English tests with a single click, just like you would any other normal test. It's all fully integrated and incredibly simple to kick off. And what's the end result of all this? A passing test. All those pieces, the blueprint, the engine, the ignition, all working together in perfect harmony. So there you have it. We've walked through the entire conceptual setup, the feature file blueprint, the step definition engine, and the test runner ignition. You officially have the mental map. The only question left is, what behavior are you going to describe first?